I'm David Taylor. I'm a professional landscape photographer based in Northumberland. I'm from the northeast, so I've grown up here, and obviously I'm very biased, but it's one of my favourite places in Britain to photograph. What I love about Northumberland, it's a very varied county. We have wonderful beaches, which are generally very empty even in summer. Drive inland and very quickly you're into open moorland. South of the county we have Hadrian's Wall, and that's a very interesting photographic subject. One of the most popular places on Hadrian's Wall is Sycamore Gap, which featured in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, so again very much a photographed location, but always worth going to visit because it does change throughout the season as well, as the tree goes from the wonderful spring colours to the autumnal colours later in the year. We've been to Bamburgh Castle today. Bamburgh Beach is this fantastic beach which is, even in the height of summer, can be quite empty of tourists, and it's a great photographer's location which varies throughout the year depending on the tides and the weather. Bamburgh Castle is very photogenic. It's on an outcrop of dolerite and it just sits overlooking the coast and the village with the same name. It's good virtually any time of year in terms of photography. It gets lit by the winter light in the winter with the sun rising behind it, and in the summer it gets lit from a completely different direction, giving a very different photographic feel. Butyl Bay is not far from Bamburgh. It's only a 10-20 minute walk. It's this wonderful bay that at low tide empties completely of water, and there's wonderful sand dunes that surround Butyl Bay, which is the marron grass is great because it has wonderful shapes where the wind's blown them, so you get lots of curves and interesting textures. You have wonderful views across inland as well as out to sea. One of the big highlights inland is the Cheviots, which are very visible from Butyl Bay. Dodo stone circles is wonderful. In fact, it's unique, and it's the only extant stone circle in Northumberland, known as Dodo 5 stones, but it was originally a 7-stone circle, but in the mists of time 2 of the stones have since vanished. But it's a wonderfully a very atmospheric spot, particularly when the weather's bad, because you get the weather changing all the time thanks to the influence of the Cheviots. I do a lot of black and white work up that way, which suits the atmosphere amazingly well. It has a real sort of primitive quality which has to be seen to be believed when the storm light comes through. Routing Lynn's this wonderful waterfall which is hidden essentially from the path. You have to really sort of clamber down and follow a very steep path through woodland to get to it. Very rarely visited. It's not one of the big tourist attractions in Northumberland, so quite often you have it to yourself and you can just spend hours looking at the waterfall, the way the water cascades down the rock face. I quite often again shoot there in black and white. The rock face is very sculptural. Obviously the water's kind of carved it over time, so the water just sort of cascades in different levels, and you spend hours just creating different kinds of photography, close-ups, wide angles, just trying to capture the atmosphere of the location. In Northumberland there are 4 main valleys in the Cheviots. One of the most inaccessible is the Harthope Valley. It's quite a steep drive in and out of the valley, but I really like the Harthope Valley because it's it's relatively wild, a lot of moorland, wide open spaces, which is quite challenging photographically. It's quite hard to find interesting foreground interest, and also the physical challenge. It's obviously quite a steep valley. Walking up into to the top of the valley can be quite a challenge with lots of camera gear, but I think the rewards are there in terms of what you can shoot. And of course in the autumn you get this wonderful raking light which creates a very sort of three-dimensional quality to the hills, and really helps the texture of the bracken and the grasses sort of stand out. You can sort of almost create your own story when you come here, because there are places which aren't that photographed, so it's possible to get a unique take on a location that isn't that well known.